But until we kind of heal these parts, that boy is going to be coming out going, I want to be seen, I want to be validated, I want to feel like I'm important, that I'm not being rejected. I'm going to grab the wheel and I'm going to be steering this, right, until you actually take a moment to acknowledge me. This is how a man reacts when the unhealed boy in him is still running the show. Hey, I'm Benny Garrell, founder of The Better Man. This is a page and a movement dedicated to you becoming the man you're meant to be. Now, today I'm going to talk a little bit about the inner child and how our childhood patterns and wounds can play out in our adult life. The way that we're going to do that is I'm going to show you this list of things I've got written here on the board. Now, this is a little thing I call the moment versus the wound. On the left-hand side here, we have day-to-day moments, just things that happen in our normal day-to-day life. In and of themselves, they don't hold any significant emotional charge. However, if we have some kind of unprocessed pain around childhood or as we were developing, growing into a man, these seemingly insignificant day-to-day moments can actually press on a deeper core wound and activate an unconscious belief whereby this means something about who I am. And we'll get to that in just a moment. My invitation for you is, as we're looking at this, just see if you resonate with anything in the right-hand column. And if you do, don't judge yourself, but it may be an invitation that there's some more work for you to do. And so we can help you through that. All right, so on the left-hand side here, she doesn't text back for hours. This is pretty common, right? Sometimes women are busy, whether we're just courting them, trying to date them, whether that's our partner, people get busy, right? So this by itself isn't necessarily a bad moment. However, if we have unmet needs and unprocessed wounds, this could really play into the feeling of I'm not important or I'm being rejected. And so here, see again, we're taking something that's happening outside of us, we're making it mean something about who we are. And you're going to see a bit of a theme here. My mate didn't invite me to something. Okay. Well, I might make that mean that I'm not wanted and that I'm always left out. I can't get this thing right at work. I just can't seem to get it done. Well, the story I tell myself is I'm a failure and I'm not good enough. My partner gave me some feedback. Sounds pretty harmless, although I could easily internalize that at I'm doing it wrong and I'm not really a man, or I'm not a real man. She needs space. She wants to take a little breather. Okay, well, that must mean that I'm too much and that people always leave me. I forgot something again. Well, I guess I'm broken and I'll never change. They didn't respect my opinion. Well, I guess I'm invisible and I don't matter. So if you recognize yourself in any of these, you're not broken, so don't judge yourself. It probably just means that you and the little guy that still lives within you might need to do a little bit of work. The important thing to understand here is that our healing really revolves around us being able to separate behavior from identity. As a boy, when we're growing up, as children, we think the whole world revolves around us, right? We're like the center of the universe. And everything that happens around us, and everything that happens, good or bad, has some kind of reflection or must mean something about who I am. This is kind of like, as a child, you know, the parents get divorced and the child internalizes that as, oh, I must have done something wrong. And we hear this a lot. So as children, we're constantly seeking meaning about who we are from the world around us. And when things happen out there, it must mean something about who I am. Now, as a child, that makes sense, right? Like as a boy growing up, it kind of makes sense that you would see the world in that way. If we developed a belief in childhood as we were growing up, then we can easily carry that into our adult life as well. And we can become men that still are harboring kind of these unconscious wounds and beliefs about ourselves. And again, these can be really unconscious, so you might not know it, you might not be thinking it, like, oh, I'm not good enough. But there might be this deep underlying sense of like something's just not quite right. And the way that you'll notice that is it's probably a feeling or a sensation in the body. Because if I was to think that I'm not important or I'm being rejected, that would probably cause some kind of feelings of like depletion, depression, some kind of isolation. I might feel sad and sorry for myself. Really, like if we were just to be totally honest about it, her texting back for a couple of hours doesn't necessarily mean this at all, right? Like unless she explicitly states this, she could be at the gym, she could be at work, something could have happened in her day. And so when we've kind of grown up and we've been led to believe these certain things about ourselves and we haven't healed them, we're going to take something that's kind of just neutral and we're going to turn it into something big, right? The same with all of these things here. So what we really want to do is start to separate behavior from identity, meaning that the things that are happening outside of me don't necessarily mean something about me or who I am. This doesn't really have anything to do with me. She's just not on her phone, right? My mate didn't invite me. There's a potential he may have forgotten their invite. It could mean a bunch of different things, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not wanted and that you're always left out. The same with these, I can't get this thing right at work. There's potentially just a skill shortage or a skill gap in what you're capable of and what you need to be capable of. It doesn't necessarily mean you're a failure or that you're not good enough. And so as you're going through this and as you're moving through your day and through your life, really start to tune into what are the stories that I'm telling myself, either consciously or unconsciously. And if you find that something is happening outside of you and it's starting to press on something and give you a sense of loneliness or frustration or despair or isolation or anything like that, really tune into what might be the story, again, conscious or unconscious, that I'm telling myself about this situation. Because often it's not really this that's the issue. It's what we're telling ourselves, our core underlying belief, that becomes the issue. And so we might not understand why we're getting triggered here, but when we get to understand the wound that's being pressed, then we can separate, well, this has got nothing to do with her, right? This has got everything to do with me feeling like I'm not important and that I'm being rejected. And when we understand that, then we can not make it her problem or his problem for the way that we're feeling. And sometimes it's good to express those things. Other times, if it's our stuff that's coming up, they might not need to actually know about that at all. We then get to try to identify when was the first time that I felt like I wasn't important? Or where maybe in my childhood did I feel like I was being rejected? And again, this is where kind of the inner child stuff comes in, because oftentimes this goes way back to some kind of early moment during developmental years in childhood where something happened and it created such a big impact in our nervous system and in our body and in our belief system that we've carried that right through. And these moments in adulthood are just pressing on something that's old, something that's been there for a very long time. And so one of the ways that you get to heal through this is that you get to bring your adult lens into this situation. And you can actually ask yourself, when did I first feel like I wasn't wanted and that I was always left out? And you can kind of revisit that. And this can be really good to do with someone who's trained to help facilitate this and reflect this back to you. But it doesn't have to be. You can do this on your own. And so you might connect in with that part of you, with that version of you, that boy, that child that first felt that. And through the perspective of your adult lens, you might be able to help kind of structure and reshift that story. And there's processes that we can do around this. But first of all, we just want to connect in with, is this actually true? And where did this originate from? And once we've gone back to where this originated from, then we can start to look at meeting the needs of ourselves in that moment. So what is it that I really needed when I felt like I wasn't important and that I was being rejected? Well, maybe I needed to feel like I was important and that I wasn't being rejected. So then as the adult version of ourselves, we get to actually kind of go back, and this can just be a felt sense or a bit of an experience, a guided visualization, where we kind of go back and then we can start to meet the needs of that boy. We can go back and help ourselves feel in that moment like he was important and that he actually wasn't rejected. Because what can happen as we grow older, like this little boy all of his wounds and all of his pains, they still live in us, right? Like, just because we grew older doesn't mean that we grew out of the pain that we experienced. A lot of the time, until we've actually kind of gone into the pain and felt it and experienced it and learned the lesson from it and healed from it, it continues to show up. So we don't need to kind of go back and look for all the ways that our life wasn't the way we wanted it to be and blame people and look for all the ways that, you know, things could have been different. However, these kind of moments are great indicators for where work probably does need to be done in order for us to function and thrive as healthy adult men. Because if we're operating from this place, I'm not important and I'm being rejected, that is going to have a significant impact on all of our relationships. Because the second somebody here doesn't operate or perform in the way that we need them to satisfy our belief, we're going to collapse. Right? Now, if you're in an adult relationship with a beautiful, conscious woman and she's just genuinely not upset, but she's busy doing her thing, and you collapse into this frame, that will affect your relationship because she will feel the boy in you being activated. And so long as the boy in you is the one that's kind of activated and running the show, it'll be very hard for her to actually feel like she can be the woman that she needs to be while you're in your boy state. And oftentimes, when a man regresses to the level of a boy through psychological and emotional kind of maturity, because oftentimes when we're feeling this, we actually revert to that age, right? So not only am I believing this, I'm actually starting to act maybe a little bit like that boy as well. Because we get these things called like an impasse or an age regression, whereby we actually revert to the age that we were when we were hurt, wounded, when this belief was instilled. So if I was 7 when I first started to have this belief that I wasn't important and that I was being rejected, well, her not texting me back for a few hours not only activates this, but I might start acting like a 7-year-old, meaning that I might pout, lose a bit of my adult communication skills. I might go inward, I might get sulky, I might beg for attention, I might sort of stomp around the house. And again, maybe you can connect with some of these things when you're feeling out of sorts. You're actually not your full self. You're actually not in your most authentic adult masculine expression. So it's really important to know that if you've actually regressed to the level of psychological and emotional maturity of that little boy, and you've kind of, in essence, become the 7-year-old again, it's going to be very challenging for this woman to meet you at the level of adult relationship that you're probably both really aiming for, right? Because if you're 7, theoretically, in your energy, then how is she going to meet you in that adult relationship? One of two things is going to happen. Either she's going to be triggered by you being triggered, which can happen, and she may actually become a little girl, her wounded self as well. And we see this when one partner becomes activated or triggered, and then it triggers and activates the partner, and now you've got 2 little kids that are fighting. You're both adults in this meat suit, but psychologically, emotionally, you're at the maturity of 2 little kids. And one person's pouty and shut down, the other person's angry and defensive, and you're kind of operating from this lower level where maybe you even snap out of that and you go, what happened? How did we end up there? Like, it just kind of escalated. So that's one instance. The other kind of way that this can pan out is you've become the boy, so she comes in to help you, to save you, to fix you, to soothe you, and she becomes your mother in the process. Now, obviously not literally your biological mother, but energetically, she then comes in to look after you and to soothe you like you're a little boy. So sometimes if we're operating in this energy, we're unconsciously projecting, because a lot of time these things will actually be related to our mother, especially if we learn from it as a child that from something that happened with our mother, that I'm not important and I'm being rejected. Maybe mum had to work a lot and so she wasn't around, or maybe she was working from home and she was always on the phone, or she was going through her own stuff, and so there's a wound developed from the feminine, from mum, that I'm not important. And so who do I really need to help fix that? Well, as a child, I really wanted mum to help me. I really wanted mum to fulfill these needs. And then so if I'm regressing to that age as an adult, she steps in, I start unconsciously projecting onto her what I need from a woman. And then I unconsciously, energetically make her my mother. Right? Now, I probably don't need to explain how dysfunctional or unhealthy that could end up. So be very, very mindful of that, at what age you're regressing into and how much of that you make the problem of your partner, because she can't really be the woman that you want her to be unless you're really stepping into the man that she wants you to be. And again, this isn't about being perfect. There's a journey here that will naturally unfold. So don't shame yourself if you realize, hey, I'm not in my integrated masculine authentic man energy all the time, right? This is a journey, but just being mindful of how this can play out, and the dynamics can help you kind of shift where you direct your energy and how you do it. And in essence, this is just taking responsibility for what is yours, what is mine and what is hers. What do I need to deal with and what can we deal with together? Because when you can kind of differentiate that, that's a masculine, authentic man trait, right? It's like, this is mine and I don't want you to come into this. Even though I'm feeling like I'm a wounded little boy right now and I've got this belief that I'm not important, I'm being rejected, I'm actually going to choose to work on that myself and own that and bring that to places and spaces where I can evolve through it. But I'm not going to make it your responsibility to save me, to fix me, to mother me, or to soothe me, because that is not your role and responsibility as my partner. But you can be an active mirror and a reflection to me when I'm in this state, and from that grounded perspective of an emotionally intelligent woman, you can help me in other ways to evolve and grow through this. So we've really got to work at healing the boy so that the man can come through, because as long as the boy is wounded, he's going to be trying to grab the wheel and steer the vehicle of your life. And so we want to acknowledge the boy, but we've kind of got to put him in the passenger seat and say, hey buddy, I see you, I feel your pain, I know it's still there and I appreciate that. I love you and I'm going to give you what you need. You can inform me because I respect you and I love you. I don't want to push you away, but you've got to get in the passenger seat, right? I'm driving. I am my adult self. I'm the man. But until we kind of heal these parts, that boy is going to be coming out going, I want to be seen, I want to be validated, I want to feel like I'm important and I'm not being rejected. I'm going to grab the wheel and I'm going to be steering this, right, until you actually take a moment to acknowledge me. So part of really stepping into your true, authentic masculine expression is healing all of the parts of the boy that is still wounded and acknowledging them so that he doesn't feel like he has to be the one in control. Because scared little boys are going to want to be in control. But when the boy's no longer scared and he trusts that you've got the wheel and you're okay, he can relax. Okay, he can just calm down. And so that's kind of the level that we want to be playing at. Separating behavior from identity, allowing the in the us to be seen and witnessed in our own energy, meeting the needs of that boy. Whatever he needed, how can I give it to him? How can I give it to myself? How can I make myself feel important? And how can I make myself feel accepted? That if I can do that, then this won't bother me. So ask yourself, what are the stories that are playing out? What are the things that are happening, the moments that are occurring? What are they triggering in me? What do I need to give to myself in order to heal this part of me? If you have any questions, drop them in the comments section and I look forward to breaking this down with you guys further to your growth, to your evolution, brother. We'll see you soon.